Hi everyone, I'm Jess and you are watching Discern with Jim Dennison. Today is Friday, October 29th. Hi Jim.
Hi, Jess. Glad to be with you today.
Well, Halloween is this Sunday, and I don't know about your history with Halloween, but I just grew up, getting so excited to dress up for school and getting candy, having our class parties. And so when I think of Halloween, I just remember it as a fun thing that kids did, more for the kids. But I also do remember, kids at my school or kids in my neighborhood who didn't participate, didn't dress up and turn their lights off and didn't hand out candy. And so obviously Halloween is, it's an issue in the church, and we don't always know how to talk about it or if we should participate. And so that's what our conversation is going to be surrounding today. And so from NRF, consumer spending on Halloween related items is expected to reach an all-time high of $10 billion, up from $8 billion in 2020, according to the National Retail Federation's annual survey conducted by Prosper Insights and Analytics. Plans to celebrate Halloween are up this year compared with last and are close to pre-pandemic levels. So Jim, just to lead us into this conversation, can you tell us a little bit about the origins of Halloween?
Absolutely. And this really has something to do with some of the spectrum of responses on the part of Christians today, because the more you know about the background, the more concerned you might be actually about whether it's something your family would want to participate in. So you have to go back 2,000 years to the ancient Celts. They lived in what we call Great Britain today. For them, November 1st was the first day of the year. It was leading into, obviously, the winter, which for them was going to be a very difficult and dark time filled with a great deal of death and challenges and all of that. The day before, October 31st, was the last day of the previous year, obviously. They thought those 2 days together were kind of on the edge of the dead and the living, and the past and the present. They thought ghosts were more likely to appear on October 31st as well. They thought that their priests would be able to predict the future more effectively because of these ghosts around on October 31st. So they had a holiday on October 31st called Samhain. It's not spelled that way, but that's how it's pronounced, Samhain. On that day, they lit huge bonfires. They dressed up in all sorts of different kinds of costumes. They had parades and parties. They tried to forecast the future for each other. Their priests got involved in all of this, and it was in every way what we would think of as an occultic kind of event. As they were worshiping their gods, as they were worshiping even the dead on some level, and doing so as a way of trying to prepare for the winter which was to come. Well, the Romans eventually conquered the Celts, and they brought their own holidays that commemorated the dead as well, and all that kind of got mixed in together. Well, now you fast forward 7 centuries, and the church, probably to counteract some of that, or at least in large part, created what they called All Saints' Day, a day to celebrate all saints of the past and of the present. And they moved that eventually to November 1st, and the day after that, November 2nd, All Souls' Day, that would specifically celebrate the past. Well, the day before All Saints' Day became known as Hallowed Eve or Halloween. And those, even in the Christian tradition, would use the day to dress up and do costumes and bonfires, that sort of thing, but certainly not in an occultic sort of sense, as would have been the case previously. Well, centuries later, as people are coming to America, especially European immigrants, they bring some of these traditions with them, and that's how we have Halloween today. But those that know about the Celtic origins, and those that are aware of the degree to which Halloween is especially, what would one say, observed by those that are involved in the occult today, are very concerned about the occultic elements of Halloween. Those that aren't aware of that or not focusing on that, those for whom that's not an issue, would, as you did growing up, see it really as an innocuous day, just a kind of a fun day for the kids. We certainly went trick-or-treating with our kids. They're going to do that with their kids. And we didn't see it, obviously, as an occultic sort of a celebration of any kind, but some do. So there's a balance in there, a bit of an ambiguity about this holiday, you might say.
Yeah, knowing the origins of Halloween and its kind of more occultic origins and background is very helpful for us to understand, why are we celebrating this? How do we do this? What are the good and bad things surrounding this holiday?
Now, for Christians, there are really two very different ways to look at this. One, obviously, is that we need to reject and have nothing to do with occult practices. The Bible consistently, over and over again, warns us against anything that we would be considered occultic. The Bible says in Ephesians 6 that our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against the powers and principalities of this present darkness. So we certainly do not want on any level to honor that, to participate in that, to have anything to do with that. On the other side, if we move more in the secular direction of all of this, then Halloween can not only be a fun time with our kids and our grandkids, but it can be a great way to build bridges in the community. It's a great way to get to know our neighbors better. It's a great way to build relational opportunities. A lot of churches are taking advantage of this. They're having what they call trunk or treat events. Given security issues of recent years, more and more families are a little worried about bringing their kids out in the neighborhood, so they might bring them down to the church and have kind of a trick-or-treat sort of a thing on the church grounds. And it's a great way to get people that don't go to church to come to church for something like that. It's been documented that you're 70% more likely to go to a Sunday morning worship service at a church if you've already been to that church for some other reason. If you played in the gym, or if your kids have been in some program or something like that. So using Halloween as a way to draw people to the church and eventually to the Lord is a great way to redeem the day. So, in a previous conversation, we talked about ways that people relate Christ in culture. One way is a Christ against culture model, which would be kind of that first idea, have nothing to do with the occult, have nothing to do with that which would honor the enemy himself. But on the other side, there's a Christ transforming culture where we use cultural issues for ways that advance the gospel. It's Jesus meeting the woman at the well and starting with water and leading her to living water. It's Paul using Greek philosophers in Acts 17 to preach the gospel. So I would really encourage Christians to find ways to redeem Halloween, ways to use it to build bridges to neighbors and community, ways your church could do the same thing. And if we'll do that, we'll make the eve of All Saints' Day a day that really does honor the God of all saints. And that's a privilege and an opportunity, I think, that God extends to us.
Yeah, I know my church is doing trunk or treat, and I think it's such a good way to look at it as an opportunity to meet our neighbors, engage in conversation with them, and then hopefully get to talk to them about the gospel and, using it for good. And so I think this was super helpful, as always, Jim. That's all we have for you guys today. We will see you guys on Monday here on Discern.